Today we have a limited amount of time, so I'm just going to be going through as fast as possible and share my experiences about the design of the future of sports. In this case, I'm going to be sharing a kind of a practice with you in order to get through some ideas about especially design-wise, how do you get through especially with the big companies. I'm not representing anything, but I'm just going to show what's the flow and what do you get from the corporations in order to get influenced by. And let's see how it goes, and I hope everybody can get at least something that can be inspired or, put in your design practice and design work as well. So as you know, we have, lots of brands, but especially in the sports industry, the identity is the real key thing. You have to embrace the brand identity in order to, show what you can, share with your designs. As designers, if you want to, create something, especially with the brand identity, you have to know the design guidelines, what it stands for, how do we create the consistency between applications, everything else. This can be omni-channel or another application. It can be something else. It can be finance as well, from the finance department too. But especially with the, if you are really care about the users and everything else, you have to create the experience of the brand. And each brand has its own identity, and especially in the sports brands, at least, you get something to, you have some 3 key elements to it. Otherwise, it's going to be complicated to create something. It's going to look like maybe a dashboarding tool or something, but you have to, embrace the culture and give the brand identity itself. So first thing, inspiration. Everything is inspiration, especially in the sports industry. You have to get inspired from. You have to inspire the people in order to get into sports and everything else. It's really hard to get, especially in this time with all those hours of the work, everything, sports part. You have to inspire people in order to get through some of the life expectations, and also sports as well. The second thing is purpose. There's an inspiration of that, and you have to get through the sports, but there should be a purpose. What's your purpose? You want to gain weight, or you have to be fit, or you just want to lose some weight and everything else. You have to have a purpose on it. You have to be just a healthy, enjoy. It's going to be a purpose as well. The third thing, of course, innovation. You have to innovate. You have to offer innovation to the athletes, which is going to be the next one. So in order to differentiate between, especially your company, between the other companies, you have to offer some innovation to the users in order to get through it. So in this case, we have to define the persona. Who is the persona here? It's just not like a kind of a simple thing. You have to define everything. In a design case-wise as well, you have to define your own persona. In this case, it can be anywhere, but especially in the sports industry, as you know, as the athlete. But it's not only the athlete. You have to define what athlete is. It's not a person who runs the marathon. It can be anywhere. So that goes through our Nike's founder, Bill Bowerman. Bill Bowerman says that if you have a body, you are an athlete. So that means we are just going to another direction, which is athlete can be, consumer. It can be a professional. It can be enthusiasts, sneakerheads, everybody else, just around us. We are the athletes, consumers. The second thing is customer, store partners, influencers that you are that representing the corporation itself. They are the faces of your brand, especially with those, you have to influence those as well. And the last thing first, which is always forgotten, employee. So in order to get the brand identity, you have to embrace the culture in this case. And it starts from the employee too. In order for your employee to get through the system and offer something purposeful, innovative at the same time, influencers, the employee itself have to know what the brand stands for, which is always generally forgotten, but that's the key point. And in this particular example, we're going to go with the employee. So the design process is simple. It's kind of, the same thing that we already read and apply in our everyday life. It's just that you have to define the problem. We do some research, like especially some teams needed, and we have organizing some problems about that to find out what the real problem is. eventually. There are lots of problems everywhere, but we have to come up with one big solution at the end. So we have one big problem that's going to be stated. Second thing is we have to design the solution. So we just, after all those researches, after we define the problem, we come up with a team, we are sketching solutions, we are doing prioritization, like especially like all those solutions, we have voting, we have to select some solutions in order to get through the system. Because in this case, especially, you just not only go through with the employee, but also not the user, but also the stakeholders as well, because it's not ending over there. It can be a beautiful product with the users, but you have to convince the stakeholders as well, because otherwise, it's not going to get through. Then creating the prototype. We need some testings needed. Of course, for the prototyping, it's very help us to understand, actually share the designs with the people who doesn't understand the solution well, so prototypes really help us, but especially in this case, the approval is really important. And the last thing is launching the product. It's the development and improvement. It's the end-to-end design. After you develop it, you have to improve it, and which goes back to the first cycle, defining the problem. But in order to get through this, we have to, just like I said, we have to embrace the culture first. So we have to get inspired and influenced from it in order to create something with the brand identity, but at the same time represent the design identity as well, because as a designers, at the end, we're going to be the one who's going to be inspired and improve our portfolio at the end, which is going to be, it's going to be a win-win situation. So these actually be fulfilled with maxims that we called. Every company has its own maxims, actually, and, what's maxim? It's just a short statement explaining a general truth or rule of conduct. There's we have, as you know, the companies itself have mission and vision and also the identity itself. So there are some maxims too. It can be, especially in the sports company, the commercials are the really key point. You have to, do the research about the company just with the lots of employees around the world, and everything comes up with some definitive, some statements. And these are the key takeaways that it doesn't mean that everything is true. Everything is correct. Everything is just the general rule, truth, or something like that. The only thing is important here, what you can get, how you can embrace it, and put it to your design in order to create something in the future as well. Not only brand identity itself, but something that you can just follow these maxims in order to create something in your design in any other company. It can be a sports industry, it can be others, but the thing is, my key takeaways is that with the 4 maxims that I will just embrace it, which really helps me to get through my projects and the design as well. So we have mission, vision, and culture. Culture is really important because they are selling the culture itself. Culture is all thing. After the mission, you have to know what the brand stands for, what they are aiming for. Like we said, it's purposeful, innovative, and inspired. And the culture itself, which actually creates the maxims. Maxims actually create the brand, and at the end, brand is actually helping us to get inspired to find our purpose to create something innovative. So the first maxim that one of my key takes was actually impossible until you do it. There's a problem, and it seems like impossible to solve. It's been around 4 years, and everybody's keep talking about that problem. And everybody's saying that, that was happening before, so they're always struggling with that problem itself. It's not been solved for years, so it's impossible to solve it. But until you do it, which is what my key takes. So we have to, in order to do it, we have to find the problem, that impossible thing to do. Michael Jordan says the talent wins games, but the teamwork and intelligence wins championships. And in this particular example and in industry, team is everything. You cannot do everything individually. You have to create that one big team that's going to help you a lot, but while creating the design process itself. It's just it's not like a one-player game. It has to be the important people who can get through the ideas. You can give you some ideas about it, give feedback and research at the end, and especially in the approval stage, it can be a big influence on the others, so the ideas can get through from all the company itself. So discovery. So you have in this example, let's assume that we are hearing a problem about getting the brand content in the company. Everybody's trying to get something eventually, and just, we keep learning that there's something wrong with it. Like, people are struggling and helping, to get through the system, get something on it. Even the brand department can't help it, and which creates lots of problem, including losing the time and, everything else. So it comes as a kind of initiative at the end, but you have to get the right team for that. In this example, like I said, decide is really important, which actually makes going to be the access point, your key at the end to get through the ideas. As a designer, it should be there. Developer too, because at the end, they are going to be who develop the product itself, which actually creates lots of problem at the end, as you know, especially with the developer side. You have to be aligned with them in order to create something. There can be some frictions. You have to know it first. So the customer expert, which in this case is really important because we have limited amount of time, limited amount of resources, even though it's so big, you have to come up with nice researchers to indicate nice feedbacks on it. So in order to go through really fastly, you have to know what can be improved on. So finance and brand expert is really important for that because they know what the brand identity is, because as a designer, it can be another department as well, you cannot be know. And like a troublemaker too, I was actually read it from somewhere else, but actually in this particular case, I was actually always having also people who are, doesn't agree on everything eventually, but I was listening to them at the end because even though that's a glimpse of that, something that they can say really, flames it and comes a great, idea at the end. So research is just anything else. So to define the problem, you have to do a deep kind of research. Like talking with the users, learning from the experts, like mapping the user journeys to explore the current frictions, what they are using, card sorting, and how might be questions. In this case, let's say assume that we did the research and we found out that there's a product and they are using it right away for the brand, getting the brand content. But there's a problem on it in the three aspects. There's a design problems, content, and performance. After those researches, we come up with these, the problems itself. In the design-wise, let's say that we don't have no preview functionality. We cannot see the content without downloading. There's no save functionality on it. Cannot customize downloadable content. So you have to download all 5 gigabit video in order to get to the system to see that there's nothing that you like it. It's only available computers, so they cannot actually get through the system from their phones, which is a big problem. And there's an unfriendly user interface that doesn't represent the brand identity itself. And the content-wise, it's kind of poor. Brands getting their contents and another else, which is not allowed to get other users to get onto the brand part. And the search functionality creates a problem. And the performance-wise, there's solve performance. So with those teams, after the brainstorming and do the design workshops, we come up with a statement called how might we help persons to get desired brand visuals instantly. So we have now defined the problem with impossible until you do it. A second one is designing a solution. So that comes our second maxim. There's no finish line. It doesn't finish there. You find the problem itself. Now it's continue to grow more. So there's no finish line on it. Late Kobe Bryant said, like, everything negative, pressure, challenges is all on opportunity for me to rise. So all those problems, negative things that you were hearing, it's a ladder to your grow and be a person in the corporation. So there's a problem which created kind of flame to it, and you have a nice team now. You can, if you actually find the solution and put in the prototyping and get through the system and launches, you solve the 4-year of problem, for instance. That's the opportunity over there. So user research now, everybody's doing it. To get something with that's branded, and you have to ask right questions in order to find the convenient solution. You talk with the users with surveys and interviews. Even going guerrilla takes time. It actually not takes time, but saves time. For instance, if you don't have much time. And competitive research is really important in this case because in sports industry, everything is competition. It's on every aspect in area as well, but especially in this industry, you have to just be closer with your competitors in order to get what they are doing and what can you offer more innovative at the end. Design thinking workshop is really important. After I gather our teams, you can be sketching some solutions, heat maps and dot stickers, which really, helps us to find the right solution at the end, because it has to be something common with all developers and everything else. Because there are some things that we don't know, especially in corporation, what can be the problems at the end. So the critique is important. At the voting, you come up with solutions or solution at the end, which in this case, we find out that the tool doesn't really represent it really well. It's not very useful, and there are problems, especially the content as well. And we find out that in this design thinking workshop, in this research, there's another problem, which is there's a social engagement problem in the company itself too. At the end, we find the problem itself, the brand getting the brand content. But one of the key problems in the company, we learned that there's a social engagement problem. And with this workshop, really helps us to find the solution itself. There's a mobile app which users can get wherever desired the brand content without any frictions, while creating social engagement between personas. They can actually share the knowledge about the ideas, or maybe the opinions about about the content and how it can be used, and that creates the interaction between them and how to see the brand going well with those content. So we have the second maxim now with the design solution. Now it's coming to the very important one, creating the prototype. So which comes are the third maxim. That's the place where you unleash your potential. So let's think about this way. We find the problem itself. Now we have in the wireframing phase, we are creating a process flow of how the application is going to be. We are wireframing them, and we find our goals. What should it be? We have already our design guidelines since it's a big corporation, and in order to get through, you have to keep the identity itself. So we have some restrictions about that. We cannot go through for any other thing. So we create, for instance. So we divide into three. We're going to be having a feed functionality, which is going to be to share the seasonal information to our the users. We have a group, which is going to be group because it can be a category sport into categories, and also some groups that can be combined for the easy filtering option. So in this case, we find out that navigation and filtering is really important. So we have to be, group section have to offer to navigate through small filters like legendary, technology, product, onboarding, heritage, timeline history. There has to be something in between so it can influence the employee. They can actually get the content, and the brand's real importance is to inspire the employee in order to inspire the consumer and customer. So when we check we are using, of course, it should be a one big product itself as a brand. So we are checking the other applications as well, to create something, with the unique, but at the same time keeps the consistency between the brand too. So minibar in this case, but goes down to up, since it's all actually focuses on the content itself. We have a wider space. We need a wider space, and you can just filter the products very easily, and you can find it really well. But the really important is, it's one of the key elements was that there's a problem with the customizing. You can get whatever there, but with this preview and download functionality, we are actually solving the problem of the preview of the content itself before downloading it, and you can just change the format and the resolution in a way that you want it. Maybe you can use it on a presentation or anything else, or you just need that 5 seconds or 5 minutes of video, because especially in the sports industry, everything is the content. Content really gives the brand identity and inspiration itself. You have to be in the, heat up about, see that, what can be going on. Dream crazy, impossible until you do it. The things that you inspire from, mottos, maxims, that's the brand itself, we get inspired from. So in order to case that, you need that 5 seconds of video in order to persuade, your stakeholders, anything else, your friends too. And social interaction. Now people can actually talk with each other, what's going on. If they like the content, they can use it. They can embrace it. They can actually, how can I say, just like it and share it. Create the awareness of what the brand is doing right now, and they can actually share it with the social interactions. social platforms to influence your brand in a way that it can be more voice heard eventually. But now we have a challenge. A challenge comes up. Everything goes smoothly. You have prototyped it, and everything goes well. It says that it's perfect. It's going to be gone now, going live, and something happens. It can be like limited resources. It can be a lack of time, or it's really important. It can be a change of strategy. You cannot actually. These are the common elements: limited resources, but lack of time. But in the change of strategy, there's nothing you can do. Strategy changed. Now they're just going to focus on something else. They don't actually care about that anymore because of the current situations of the market. The strategy changed, and you've been doing this work for a long time, and the strategy changes completely. That's fine. In this particular case, we're going to go with the change of strategy. What's the strategy now? They just want to increase the membership, and they want to create the brand experience wider. What's going to happen now? Are we going to get things trash to it? So it's for time off. You have to come up with your team again. You have time off now. You have to just talk with each other. What can be happen eventually? They just scored, and you're just in the behind now. You're just not going to be stopping. So you go back to the design process with your team again. You have to define the problem now. It's different, but in any case, it's going to be end well or not. But that's very important. That's how you unleash your potential. You have to find that potential. How you gonna manage that information to yourself with your team and come up with something better in order to score. LeBron James says you can't be afraid to fail. It's the only way you succeed. So there's no need to be getting afraid about that. It can happen. There's no need to be slow down or just say that, I'm not going to do anything anymore. But, why do we fall? To get up again eventually. So we come up with our new strategy now. We are saying that now with the new strategy, with this new application, we're going to be combining the membership and increase the members. It's starting from the inner employee. So when you think about the store staff, inner employee, there are like thousands of people that can be going through. The conversion rate is so high, and also turnover too with the employees. So even though they left the company itself, they're gonna use it with the other applications they have. So we have our membership in our pocket now. And of course, the decider has a lot of point on that because it just gives the influence to the the stakeholders. And experience. Now we say that let's create a kind of innovation that we are searching for. So timeline history. So let's see how the brand is actually evolved through time in a way that we can see everything. So we don't have to use YouTube and anything else anymore. We can just put everything in one application that can create that brand experience that you are looking for. And you can actually influence with this way, like the new onboarding employees and everybody else, especially in the store staff too, because they are the ones who are selling your product at the end. So they have to be inspired from the brand as well in order to represent well. So now at the end, we have an inspirational application that inspires all employees around the world and also the staff members. We have the purpose of it. Now, what was the purpose? Before, just helping the brand, helping the employee to get the brand content with social interaction. But the main purpose in this particular case is not the purpose that I found, but the brand decided. So strategy is the purpose actually align with it, align with the strategy, and we have an innovative product at the end. So what's the outcome if it can be a win or lose? You can win or you can lose at the end, and the idea is not get through again. In this case, let's go with the win. But even though lose, it comes with the certain point. You are unleashing your potential. At the end, you're gonna use that product with the knowledge that you have gained in order to create something more in the future with those experiences. You just have your team, you just have your ideas, you just already created your prototype, everything else, you did your research. It's a nice brand design practice, and you gained everything at the end. You unleashed your potential, you just show yourself to everybody. So, it just comes to our last maxim, constantly evolving. Even though it's a win or lose, just keep the coin. In this case, I'm gonna go with the win, then lose. So, with the win, if you think you are perfect already, then you never will be. So you deliver the product, developed at the end, and you have to just listen to the consumer and user more in order to get how can you improve your application. It can be nice feedbacks. You have to always listen to them, get into the design process again from the beginning, and huddle with your team and create something in the wow factor in the second update maybe. You have to keep growing. You just don't have to be finished there. If it is failed, just try to find new opportunities. What's really struggling through in the company itself or in the world too. Like what can be improved? Just you are doing your job daily, but these are the things that actually, especially in this industry, that helps you to go up and unleash your potential, find your purpose, and develop yourself. Because at the end, you're gonna have it in your portfolio, which creates a big engagement, especially with your design career. So we have already everything now. We have our 4 maxims with aligning with the design process, why we inspired with these key takeaways from the brand, which can be implemented in all industry and can drive you forward. For me, it can be something else for you too. Like, in order to create some design, that's always I actually keep myself to create, something. You go approaching to this like this. So at the end, like I get inspired to create something more at the end. But it all comes to the storytelling. You created something, it's so beautiful and it's so innovative. Like everybody is using now. If you in the industry itself, even the commercials too, you have to tell the story. How is that overcome to get inspired? You have to share the knowledge between all of the colleagues in order to do, because knowledge is everything. You have to share the story. You have to be the one that get inspired from the knowledge sharing. It all comes to storytelling, and the way you do it, actually how you define it, because otherwise, the team is really important in this particular case. But if you don't tell the story, it's just something that has been done with some people. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we have a right amount of time. Just everything starts with design, and I believe we have to start with design, some sketches. It can be anything else, and at the end, we find the solution in a purposeful, innovative, and inspired from. Just real important thing is what can get from these stakeholder companies as kind of key takeaways in order to represent our product. And while we are doing that, especially put that design practice in a brand identity too, so you can create something with aligning the brand identity and the strategy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Al. We've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
One from Cecilia. Did you include users in finding the solution or just stakeholder voting?
No, users, of course, definitely. So in this particular case, heuristic analysis is really important. And there are users and heuristic analysts. So they know what user wants, especially in the brand-wise. If you want to create something, like I said, you have to know the brand identity well with the users, what they're expecting of. That's really important. That really helps us to get through the ideas really fast, because the lack of time, we need to get the information as fast as possible, because in this case, you are just hiring people around the department, and they don't have time to do that, anything else, so we have to be precise. We don't make them lose time. And users as well. So we are actually talking with the application users, what they're expecting us if something comes up like this, and also the user of that we are aiming for too. And we are talking with them, doing the surveys and interviews as well, usability tests too at the end, to see that it's actually covering up their problem, and the solution actually covers up everything at the end.